Seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourselves. Epictetus once said, "A bold reminder that true contentment lies within, not in the applause of others." Yet, how often do we fall into the trap of chasing approval, worrying about imaginary problems, fearing change, or holding on to grudges? The ancient Stoics, with their timeless wisdom, offer a roadmap to break free from these self-imposed burdens. In this article, we'll explore 4 Stoic don'ts that can transform your life. Don't look outside yourself for approval. Don't suffer imagined troubles. Don't fear change. And don't cling to revenge. Drawing from Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and other great thinkers, let's uncover practical ways to live with clarity, resilience, and peace, starting today. Stop seeking approval from others. Epictetus. Let's start with a hard truth. Seeking approval from others is a losing game. Epictetus, one of the most practical Stoic philosophers, put it bluntly. If you are ever tempted to look for outside approval, realize that you have compromised your integrity. If you need the opinion of others to feel good about yourself, you've already lost. Ouch! But he's right, isn't he? How many times have you caught yourself fishing for compliments, worrying about what your boss thinks of your presentation, or refreshing your social media post to see how many likes it got? I've been there, endlessly scrolling, hoping for validation, only to feel emptier when the likes didn't come. Epictetus teaches us that true freedom comes from within. When you rely on others to define your worth, you hand over your power. Imagine this. In a gathering, your words meet silence. Everyone moves on, but you spend the rest of the night replaying it in your head, wondering if people think you're awkward. Now, what if you didn't care? What if you laughed it off? Knowing your value doesn't hinge on their reaction. That's the Stoic way. Your integrity, your character, your actions, these are what matter, not the fleeting opinions of others. This idea isn't just Stoic. It echoes across philosophies. Lao Tzu, the ancient Chinese philosopher, said in the Tao Te Ching, "Care about people's approval, and you will be their prisoner." Think about that for a second. When you're constantly trying to please others, you're not living for yourself, you're living for them. I remember a friend who spent years trying to impress her parents with a career she hated, only to realize they'd have loved her regardless. She quit, pursued her passion for art, and found a happiness she'd never known. The lesson? Stop outsourcing your self-worth. So how do you break this habit? Start small. Next time you're tempted to seek approval, like posting a selfie for validation, pause. Ask yourself, am I doing this for me or for someone else? If the answer is someone else, reconsider. Focus on what you can control. Your actions, your effort, your intentions. Epictetus reminds us that we can't control what others think, so why waste energy on it? Instead, build a quiet confidence in your own values. Over time, you'll find that the less you seek approval, the more respect you'll naturally earn, because authenticity always shines through. Let go of imagined troubles. Seneca. Seneca, another Stoic giant, had a knack for cutting through our mental clutter. He wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Let that sink in. How many nights have you lost sleep worrying about something that never happened? I'll confess, I've spent hours imagining worst-case scenarios. What if I fail this exam? What if my boss fires me? What if I say something stupid in that meeting? Spoiler alert, 9 times out of 10, those fears never came true. And even when they did, they were never as bad as I'd imagined. Seneca's point is simple but profound. We torture ourselves with what-ifs that rarely materialize. It's like we're writing horror stories in our heads, casting ourselves as the doomed protagonist. But here's the thing, those stories aren't real. They're just thoughts, and thoughts aren't facts. The Stoics believed we have the power to control our minds even when we can't control the world around us. So why let imaginary troubles steal your peace? This idea isn't unique to Seneca. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "I will not let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet." What a powerful image. Your mind is your sacred space. Don't let fear or worry trample through it. I learned this lesson the hard way a few years ago. I was preparing for a big presentation at work, and I couldn't stop imagining every possible disaster. Forgetting my lines, the projector failing, my boss hating it. By the time the day arrived, I was a nervous wreck. Guess what? The presentation went fine. My boss even complimented me. All that suffering was for nothing. So, how do you stop suffering imagined troubles? Seneca offers a practical tip. Focus on the present. When you catch yourself spiraling into what-ifs, bring your attention back to what's happening right now. Are you safe? Are you breathing? Is there something you can do in this moment to prepare or solve the problem? If yes, do it. If not, let it go. Another trick I found helpful is to ask myself, what's the worst that could happen? Often the worst-case scenario isn't as bad as I think, and even if it is, I can handle it. Sun Tzu, the ancient strategist, also touched on this in The Art of War. Do not engage an enemy more powerful than you unless you must. In this case, your enemy is your own imagination. Don't engage with it unless you have to. In moments when your mind lingers on unrealized fears, remind yourself, this is just a story I'm telling myself. Then, rewrite the ending, or better yet, put the book down and step into the real world. Embrace change instead of fearing it. Marcus Aurelius. Let's turn our attention to change, something we all face but often dread. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, knew a thing or two about change. As a leader, he faced constant upheaval, wars, plagues, betrayal. Yet he wrote in his meditations, "The universe is change, our life is what our thoughts make it." In other words, change is inevitable, but suffering over it is optional. I'll be honest, I used to hate change. Moving to a new city, starting a new job, even switching to a new phone, it all felt like a hassle. But the Stoics taught me that resisting change only makes things harder. Think about nature for a moment. The seasons change, rivers flow, trees grow and shed their leaves. Change isn't just normal, it's necessary. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on this, reminding himself that to fight change is to fight the universe itself. He wrote, "Is any man afraid of change? What can take place without change? What then is more pleasing or more suitable to the universal nature?" That's a powerful perspective shift. Change isn't something to fear. It's something to embrace, because it's the very fabric of life. I remember a time when I was terrified of change. I'd been working at the same job for 5 years and I was comfortable, maybe too comfortable. Then my company announced a major restructuring, and I was offered a new role in a different department. I panicked. What if I couldn't handle it? What if I failed? But I decided to take Marcus's advice and lean into the change. I accepted the role, and while it was challenging at first, it ended up being one of the best decisions I ever made. I learned new skills, met amazing colleagues, and grew in ways I never would have if I'd stayed in my comfort zone. This idea resonates beyond Stoicism. Lao Tzu, in the Tao Te Ching, wrote, "If you do not change direction, you may end up where you are heading." Sometimes change is the universe's way of nudging us toward growth. So how do you stop fearing change? Marcus offers a simple strategy. Focus on what you can control. You can't stop change from happening, but you can control how you respond. When change comes, ask yourself, what can I do right now to adapt? What opportunities might this bring? And if it's a tough change, like a breakup or a job loss, give yourself permission to feel the emotions, but don't let fear take the wheel. As Marcus would say, life is what your thoughts make it. Choose to see change as a chance to grow, not a threat to your peace. Release the desire for revenge. Marcus Aurelius. Now let us contemplate the burden of revenge, a trap that's all too easy to fall into. Marcus Aurelius had every reason to seek revenge. As emperor, he dealt with betrayals, political enemies, and even a rebellious general. But he wrote in Meditations, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, don't stoop to their level. Don't let someone else's wrong turn your heart bitter. I'll share a personal story. A few years ago, a co-worker took credit for a project I'd worked hard on. I was furious. I spent weeks plotting ways to get back at her. Maybe I'd expose her in a meeting, or spread a rumor to even the score. But then I stumbled across Marcus's words, and they hit me like a ton of bricks. Revenge wouldn't undo what she did, but it would change who I was. I decided to let it go. I focused on my own work, kept my integrity intact, and eventually, my contributions were recognized. The co-worker? She ended up leaving the company after her behavior caught up with her. I didn't need to lift a finger. Life took care of it. This idea isn't just Stoic wisdom, it's universal. Mahatma Gandhi famously said, "An eye for an eye only ends up making the whole world blind." Revenge might feel good in the moment, but it keeps you tethered to the person who hurt you. It's like drinking poison and hoping the other person gets sick. Instead, Marcus urges us to rise above. Be the bigger person, not because it's noble, but because it's practical. Holding on to anger only hurts you. It doesn't fix the past. So how do you let go of revenge? First, acknowledge your feelings. It's okay to be angry or hurt. Those emotions are human, but don't let them control you. Seneca offers a helpful tip. Imagine the person who wronged you as a child throwing a tantrum. Would you get mad at a toddler for being immature? No. You'd see it as a reflection of their limitations, not yours. Apply that same perspective to the person who hurt you. Their actions say more about them than about you. Another strategy is to focus on what you can control. You can't change what they did, but you can change how you respond. Channel your energy into something positive. Your work, your relationships, your growth. As Frank Lucas, the infamous figure known for his strategic mindset, said, "The loudest one in the room is the weakest one in the room." Don't be the loud one seeking revenge. Be the quiet one who moves forward with dignity. Over time, you'll find that letting go doesn't just free you from anger. It frees you to live a better life. Honorable mentions, more Stoic wisdom to live by. As we draw near the end, let us reflect on a few more pearls of Stoic wisdom. Beginning with Socrates, though not a Stoic, he offers a lesson that resonates deeply with Epictetus's teaching on approval. He famously said, "I know that I know nothing," a reminder to stay humble and focus on your own growth, rather than seeking validation through intellectual superiority. Schopenhauer, the philosopher known for his unique insights, also suggested playing dumb to win respect. Don't flaunt your knowledge. Let your actions speak. Then, Lao Tzu's wisdom enriches Marcus Aurelius's view on change. In the Tao Te Ching he wrote, "The sage wears rough clothing and holds the jewel in his heart." In other words, don't resist the flow of life, embrace it with humility, knowing the greatest treasures are within. And as a final reflection, Sun Tzu's Art of War echoes Marcus's advice on revenge. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Don't waste energy on retaliation. Win by rising above. The Stoics weren't just philosophers. They were practical guides for living a good life, even in the messiest of times. Their wisdom, from Epictetus's call to stop seeking approval to Marcus Aurelius's reminder to let go of revenge, offers a blueprint for peace in a chaotic world. I invite you to take this challenge. Choose one don't and apply it today. Release the weight of others' opinions. Let go of an imagined trouble. Embrace a change you've been resisting, or release a grudge you've been holding. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Take that power back and watch how your life transforms, one Stoic step at a time.